Alright, everybody, welcome to the first j0elsuf Remembers of 2022 here. This one's actually really cool because of, just because of how, weird the dates are, exactly 5 years away from each other. It's really crazy. So, yeah, it's been 20 years, and it's been 15 years since these things have happened. So, since Triple H returned from his quadricep injury on January 7th, 2002, and then exactly 5 years after, he gets the exact same injury at New Year's Revolution 2007. So, as per the course of j0elsuf Remembers, I'll talk a little bit about what I was going through during these dates, what kind of stuff how my life was going, and then talk about the events themselves and stuff like that. And then the next one's going to be even better, in my opinion. Or not really better, but it's going to be even, crazier, whatever. Not really crazier, but it's going to be more near and dear to my heart than these two. And these two are actually pretty, I actually do have kind of an emotional kind of connection to all these two. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Oh, hey, not that big. Hey. Oh, yeah, well, I guess it's not. There's more text out here than in my gorilla setup out here. I do streaming, okay? I don't have a team that does that kind of... Man. Okay, so... 2002, what was I going through? Well, it was my second semester ever of college. The second of what would be, I can't even count, man. I can't even count. And this was when I was just going to college just for the sake of it. Just because I had no idea what I was going to do with my life after high school. So I'm like, let me go to college. And let me go to college because... let me try to, get with all the girls I had crushes on in high school when I go from junior college to university. That was the plan, and that was pretty sad. However, it was around this time where I met one of my best friends. In fact, I was just chatting with her today. She got COVID and or C-19. I can't say that word. Gotta say, a different variation of C-19. But she's okay. She's doing better. She was forced to take time off from her job and, whatever, that kind of sucks. And she was actually prepared to take an optometry exam to, I guess, get accepted into a master's program or something at her school. So 20 years later, after meeting this woman, she's still in college. She's still taking classes and stuff. Wants to be an eye doctor, I guess, if you're going to be going to college into your 40s, you may as well try to become a doctor, shit. That's the only real reason to go to college. But this was when I met her, and, we dated on and off a little bit, nothing crazy, because I had no idea how to really make a move on her, because I didn't really want to make a move on her because I didn't want to, mess up what we had. And, when you make a move on somebody, you kind of sacrifice whatever friendship you have with them, because they may not like the move you made, and they may terminate the friendship right then and there. And I had that fear ever since I met this lovely woman 20 years ago. But, and I was kind of looking to her for, some emotional support, that was kind of still was going for the opposite sex for that more than, the whole thing. Now I want to go on dates, I want to have sex with with the women I meet, and that kind of stuff. But I still want, to kind of come to them if I'm feeling down some. They can come to me when they're feeling down some. I didn't have that kind of foundation when I was 19 and a half in 2002. Yeah. Wow. Wasn't even 20 yet. How crazy was that? And also 2002 was when I was just starting to get back into wrestling too. I'd dabbled you know. But after ECW stopped airing on Sunshine Network, which was I think in like 1998, I kind of like didn't. I kind of like would watch here and there wrestling. Uh, you know, Sunday Night Heat was on MTV. I'd watch that. I'd watch Tough Enough. Um, so that's how I would get like uh, informed of wrestling related events back before I started hearing about how Triple H came back from injury and stuff like that. The Invasion stuff was right after the Invasion. And I remember my buddies talking about the Invasion, and I'm like, Invasion? I know WCW got bought, but what the hell? you know? But this was after all that was settled. You know what I mean? So, let me segue right into what was going on in WWE at that time. So Triple H was like the bad guy of bad guys. Like, he walked so that MJF could run. You know what I mean? Well, not really. MJF is a different kind of bad guy than Triple H, I guess. But Triple H was like, 1 year before he returned from his injury, he was a bad guy. You know what I mean? He was the dude who orchestrated Austin getting run down, and then he formed the two-man power trip with Steve Austin, which was really stupid and weird. I enjoyed the work they did. They were a really good pair of bad guys, but, like, really? Like, you're going to team up with the dude who orchestrated you getting run over? Okay. So, but that was cool, and then then he got injured in May 2001, tore his quadricep muscle off the bone. And there was actually, there was footage on it, of it, there was documentary type footage of him working and rehabbing his injury and stuff, and, there was a montage of it and everything like that. There was a video package that came out on what's it called? At Vengeance, 2001. That's when he was supposed to come back and be one of the four guys in the main event. That's why some of the posters had Triple H on the cover of Vengeance 2001. I forgot to talk about that. But instead, he wanted to rehab a little bit more. He didn't want to, take any risks, and so they put Jericho instead of him. So, but I forgot to mention that in the last one. So, he came back a month later, and it was in Madison Square Garden, and I think to this day, the biggest crowd reaction, actually, no, I'll tell you what the biggest crowd reaction was, biggest pop, whatever you want to talk about, and that was when I saw that's when the Hardys came back at WrestleMania 33, because that you could not hear yourself. And I'll definitely do a remembers on that, because that's what I'm saying. That's going to be in 3 months. It's going to be 5 years since I went to WrestleMania 33, among a few other things, you know what I mean? But it's one of the loudest wrestling crowd pops of all time. Right up there with, the Hardys returning at Mania 33, right up there with Bryan Danielson winning the WWE Unified title at WrestleMania 30. It's right there with Rock being announced as the guest, as the host of Mania 27. I remember that being ridiculous. Even with CM Punk coming to AEW, that was insane. This was right up there with him, and probably I'd say probably the second or third one. Comes out, and he's like, "Oh, just in case you forgot, let me remind you who the hell I am." Speaks for a few minutes, and he's a good guy here. You know what I mean? And not like blue chipper good guy, just badass good guy. You know what I mean? And he would go on to win the Royal Rumble 2002. I'll talk about that a little bit. So, Royal Rumble 2002, this was when I started watching wrestling pay-per-views with my buddies. There was this one dude who would order it, pay-per-views every month, and he would he'd get food and alcohol and stuff, and we would drink and stuff our faces and watch wrestling pay-per-views. And we did that for a good, I'd say, until like the summer of that year. And those were good times. And I remember my buddy Dan, he was still kind of struggling with his ADHD. And so, like, the people who he didn't really know too well, like, would kind of make fun of him for it. And I would defend him. I'd be like, yo, man, back off of him, man. Let's just enjoy this, And me and a few other buddies of ours, we would talk about stuff because I knew most of the business. You know what I mean? I was smart to it, not as much as now. Now I know pretty much what goes into every wrestling show. I can tell you all the real names of all these guys. I wasn't there yet in 2002, but I was getting there. You know what I mean? And so those were good times. I was working at, and I remember I would beg to work first shifts on Sundays. That's when that's pay-per-views, and I would work. Like my boss would be like, no, I need you here. Like, when's the latest you can leave? I go like 6 in the afternoon, and he's like, okay, cool. So I'll have you work like a 10-hour day from like 8 to 6, and not unbeknownst to me, the last 2 hours of that shift. I wasn't getting paid for that. That was off the clock. Because if you went over your hours, typical job bullshit. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. I didn't care because I was 19 and stupid, but still. So yeah, and Triple H would go on to be, he'd go on to win the WWE Unified title at the time, at Mania 18, and then he would go to, and then during the brand split, the very first brand split, I'll talk about that too in April. I'm gonna lump them all in April. The next Joseph Remembers, it'll be on the 13th, or actually, yeah, it'll be on the 13th. That'll be a little better there too. And during the very first brand split, he was drafted to SmackDown, and he redid his rivalry with Chris Jericho, which had him in the I think fifth Hell in the Cell match of all time. How crazy! It's like once a year, and that was like the 5th one ever that he was in with Jericho. It was ridiculous. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So that's how it was, man. And yeah, like I miss how wrestling was in 2002. It's crazy. Anyways, let's go to 5 years later, in 2007. What was I doing with my life in 2007? Not living it, I'll tell you that. Shit. This was months after my dad died. And I moved from South Florida to Southern Indiana with my mom and stepdad. Living with them for a little bit while I try to, figure out my next move. That next move being go back to college because I didn't know what the hell to do with my life still at 24 and a half. But a few of my mom's work buddies were my age, and one of them was a big wrestling fan like I was, and we were both real smart to the business. And he actually was renting a wrestling ring and in a storage unit to put that wrestling ring in, and he was actually doing shows. And I'm like, well, maybe I'm too old to train to wrestle, and I definitely don't have the size. I'm 5'8", and if you're 5'8", you're not going to get anywhere in the business, no matter, especially in the late 2000s when WWE and TNA Wrestling and Ring of Honor and I think MLW was still around in 2007 and other stuff. They were looking for big dudes. If you're not a big dude, how much booking can you get? So I had that kind of foresight, and I'm like, I'd probably be a really good manager. So I remember managing some guys, and like my gimmick was like it was like a cross between Raven and it's like a cross between like let's see. It was like a cross between Rock and Raven. Yeah, I was trying to be like the Rock and Raven. So I'd be all about the catchphrases and stuff, and I'd be all, I'd be all cryptic like Raven and stuff. And I didn't use my actual name. I used a different stage name. I'm not gonna talk about the stage name. I used my middle name and some other. I think it was. I don't remember. I used my middle name and something else. My first initial, then my middle name. So J Adam something something. I don't remember. And I remember I'd be like, oh, let's see, like my ending line for my promo would be like, my client will beat you down to the underground. Trust. That kind of stuff. I don't know. It's really weird. But I had a lot of fun doing that. But like our crowds were like nothing. Our crowds were like 20 people. So it's like, it was most of those 20 people like buddies of ours who like, they would be like, they were responding to us the way they were supposed to, bad guy, good guy, stuff like that. But then they'd come to me and they'd be like, my God, Joel, you know how to draw heat like you would not believe. And you guys, they hate you. And they go like, well, I have a way with words. I know how to do that. That kind of shit. Those were good times. And like 5 years before, we also had a group of us who would order WWE pay-per-views and watch them and stuff. And that would happen the whole time I was in Evansville, Indiana. You know what I mean? I would be, every Sunday we would go there and go to my buddy's place and watch WWE pay-per-views. Good times, man. And I was living off my dad's savings because he left behind a whole bunch of money. So I was like taking time off life and, not caring about getting a job. This was still in my phase where I would get a smattering of sales jobs and just like, and go as long as I could before getting fired. Because if you're working a sales job and you don't meet the numbers within like your first month or your first 3 months, some of them are good to you and give you 3 months. Some of them are assholes and they give you 1. So, I would never meet the sales goals because I didn't care about what I was selling. You know what I mean? If you want to be a good salesman, you have to really care about what you're selling. If you don't give a shit about what you're selling, or if you don't like what you're selling, or if you, you don't believe in what you're selling, then you're gonna suck, no matter how good you are at talking to others and building rapport and closing and shit like that, and setting up appointments and stuff. Like if you sell something that you don't like, then it's gonna suck. And like the shitty telemarketing jobs I would have, I'd be like one of them would be like, I'd be getting people to make donations to this really shady foundation thing. They'd be like, oh, this child has cancer and your donation can help him, or disabled. I think disabled, not disabled veterans, like disabled retired officers or something like that. And I'd have to in my pitch I'd be like, this officer enjoyed 35 years of service, and then he got his leg shot off or something like that. I don't remember. It was really stupid. Oh man, one of them. Oh my god, one of them was I was like taking surveys for, I think like the state of Kentucky, because Indiana was right next to where I was at was right next to Kentucky, and so this paid, at the time, 2007, paid $13.50 an hour, and I was like, what the fuck? Now I do that on a slow day I do that on a slow day with Uber Eats now, so I don't really care. I do that on a super slow day in Uber and Lyft. But back then at 24 and a half, it was a lot of money for me. And I was taking surveys, and I would fall asleep during calls. That's how bad it was. I'd come there hungover. I'm come there still drunk, smelling of alcohol. So, yeah, 2007 is the year I really want to regret. I was also I was getting into a dating coach and pickup stuff. You know what I mean? Because I still had no idea. You know, now it's easy. But 15 years ago, not so much. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's what I was going through, and then I started Florida State, and and then went there on and off and stuff, and been here ever since. And now I know what I want to do. I want to make fun content here, YouTube, and I want to make fun streams on Twitch, and and do good freelance writing stuff and do bowling related stuff. That's what the O is, a bowling ball, and I get better when I get super, super good at bowling. I want to coach some motherfuckers, and build a business revolving around that. But I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea how to put any of that together when I was 24 and a half. So yeah, let me talk about the event. Okay, let me talk about that. So New Year's Revolution 2007. It was a few months after DX reformed, so now the Triple H and Shawn Michaels rivalry is finished, and now they're buddies again, and they reformed DX in the summer of 2006. Awesome, right? Good stuff. They couldn't do the raunchy shit they did in 1997 because, one, it wouldn't make sense because they're in their 30s now. You know what I mean? Like, ew. Or late 30s, both Triple H and, Michaels in his 40s. What the fuck? You know what I mean? So you couldn't do that. And WWE, it was about this time where WWE, a lot of people think that WWE was like trying to go PG right after Benoit did what he did. That kind of the direction was heading there, like after Cena, after Cena proved himself. And yeah, these matches were still really bloody, a lot of violence, a lot of weapon shots, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of big, massive bloody brawls. And this match was crazy and bloody and intense. But it wasn't as, dare I say this word, edgy. Hate saying that word, but the only way I can really describe it, as it was in years past. You know what I mean? Like January 7th, 02 is way different than January 7th, 07. Yeah, there were some similarities, and WWE didn't completely transition the way it was presented yet, but it was getting there. And the last, bastion of how things used to be was in DX and Rated RKO, and to some extent some of the Undertaker stuff you saw on SmackDown and other stuff like that. So yeah, and this was a blow-off match, blow-off match pretty much, but was forced to be a blow-off match between D-Generation X and Rated RKO for the WWE Tag Team titles. And right there, you can see it right there, is Triple H holding his quad. That was right after what's it called? Right after a pedigree they hit on Randy Orton. When he goes in for the pin, he favors it. Referee throws up the X, and then the match had to end about 4 minutes after that. Triple H would be injured until SummerSlam 07, where he went up against Booker T and won the world title off of Booker T at SummerSlam 07. Booker T can't catch a break from Triple H, man. WrestleMania 19 and then SummerSlam 2007. Goddamn, dude. But yeah. And also, and then Triple H would slowly transition from a full-time performer to a part-time one. By the next year, 2008, Triple H more or less became part-time. Yes, you saw him on TV every week, but no, he was not in big, high-profile matches as much as in years past. 2009 would officially be his final full-time year as a performer in WWE. But even before then, it was like, you knew that like Triple H was, pushing 40, he'd been busting his ass for a decade before, a decade straight, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like that's how that went down. And yeah, man, like, so Triple H would miss WrestleMania. He would miss he'd miss a Royal Rumble. He missed WrestleMania, and yeah. But that was a good thing too, because you could see it that Triple H was gaining weight, and I think Randy Orton actually around this time got on, I think, a podcast, not a podcast because he didn't really have podcasts in 2007. Some kind of shoot interview, where he actually says that that Shawn Michaels is balding, needs to cut his hair, and that Triple H is getting fat. You know what I mean? He famously says that. There's footage of that somewhere on YouTube. I don't remember, but I think that was like either before or after this match. And so when Triple H came back in SummerSlam 2007, I guess I kind of got to him because he lost a lot of weight and looked a lot better, and there you go. So there you go. That is Joseph Remembers January 7th, 2002 and January 7th, 2007. Two different points of my life, two different events in wrestling, involving the same guy and almost the same kind of injury. And there you go. Good stuff. The next one, it's like I said, it's going to be really good. It's going to be really cool. Cannot wait for it. All right. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next stream. I'll see you in the next video. By the way, my streaming, I'm doing that completely on Twitch now because YouTube decides it just doesn't like when I stream. And like the VODs from my stream, if I stream on YouTube, they hang around in copyright straight purgatory. Like my latest Earthbound PB finally got released from being copyright striked, so now it's like available to view again. So to counteract this, I'm like, all right, screw it, I'm going back on Twitch. So twitch.tv/j0elsuf, j0elsuf, is where you can find me on Twitch. Follow me there. I do speed runs there. I do, and from now until April, I'll be doing River City Girls and Final Fantasy IX. Those are my long and short. Those are my short and long ones, respectively. And my next stream will probably be either Friday or Tuesday. Tuesday I stream every Tuesday to get myself hyped up for bowling. Friday it's depends on if I'm doing something. So tomorrow I might stream tomorrow. So catch me on there. All right. Thank you for listening again, and take care. Bye.